welcome to Voice of Rio Grande. I'm Dr. Donna Mitchell, along with my co-host, Dr. Heather Duda. I'm the Dean of the College of Professional and Technical Studies, and Heather's the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. How are you today, Heather?
I'm doing fairly well, except for a little bit of a cold. How about you, Donna?
I'm doing well, but you know it's that time of year.
It is. You know, we had some colder weather for the first couple weeks of school, and now it's getting a warm streak, and I've noticed a lot of my students are kind of having the same symptoms I am. Coughing and sneezing, running noses, but it's a beautiful week this week, so.
It is. Allergens are high too, so allergies and colds are not good, not fun. But it's a beautiful day at Rio Grande, and it's a beautiful day to be on the campus of Rio Grande.
It is. Have you been outside much today?
Not as much as I'd like to be, but the walk up here was lovely, the weather was beautiful, and I just like being outside.
I do too. Although I have to admit, I've noticed that some of the leaves are changing, and I love campus in the fall. Students start to bundle up, the leaves start to fall, and the campus just is full of color and activity and beauty. It's wonderful.
Time for sweaters to come out. Well, we're fortunate to have a guest with us today. It's Patty Schaeffer. And she's our accounting instructor, one of two, here at the University of Rio Grande and Rio Grande Community College. Welcome, Patty.
Welcome.
Hi, ladies. How are you today?
We're doing
well. And you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm also enjoying the day here at Rio Grande. It's a beautiful day. It's very sunny out, and I love this campus. This is the most beautiful campus I've ever been to.
Well, thank you.
Well, we appreciate hearing that because you're in your first year here at Rio Grande, just getting
That's right.
started as a full-time faculty member, and so we're wanting to bring you on to let you talk a little bit about your experiences here. But first, we'd like to learn more about you.
Well, and you can call me Patty now.
Okay, thank you.
I've been married since 1983 to Charlie Schaeffer. I do reside in Chillicothe, and I have one son. His name's Jacob Schaeffer. And you know, Jacob's a freshman here, and he's taken welding, and he loves the campus. He loves the experience here. Sometimes he just tells me when he comes home from the weekends, I want to go back to Rio. I really like it there, Mom. And so I have several degrees. I have a lot of working experience in the field of accounting. I guess that about sums it up.
So tell us about your degrees.
I went to Shawnee State to get my bachelor's degree. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. I have a major in accounting. And while I was at Shawnee, when I very first started there, I worked in Columbus at Coopers & Lybrand. At that time, it was one of the big 6 accounting firms. And so I worked there over 20 hours part-time, and I started down at Shawnee State, and I was a part-time student taking a couple classes. And so some days I didn't know whether I was going to go north or south to work. So anyway, because I live in Chillicothe, Columbus is north and Shawnee was south. And then I got the President Honor Scholarship down there, and I just had to work 20 hours in the business office, and I used my scholarships to go to school. And I got out and I worked after I got my degree, and I worked in the workforce doing different things. I've been the assistant controller, I've been a payroll accountant, I've done some taxes, just a little bit of everything, ladies. And after that, I decided I was going to go back because I wanted to teach, and I got my master's degree in taxation from Capital Law School up in Columbus, Ohio. And that was a great experience, going back and doing that. And so with that, I've been able to teach. I've taught vocational schools. I've taught accounting there. I was an adjunct up at Ohio University for a while. So my experience really claims the classroom, I feel.
And even though you're new to Rio Grande, you're not new to teaching.
No, that's right. I've been an adjunct up at Ohio University. I've taught at vocational school to the adult students there. I've taught almost every level from kindergarten right on up to adult learners.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yes.
Thank you.
What are you teaching this semester in your first semester at Rio?
I am teaching Accounting 1 to freshmen, and I'm also teaching an investments class. And I have to tell you, I really love teaching the freshmen, the incoming freshmen. And here's what I really like about it, is that they are just there to soak up the information. A lot of my real life experience in accounting, I get to give them real life experience. I can tell them what a perpetual inventory is. You know, I can tell them, give them different experiences, you know, look at for the supplies and the supply cabinets, you know, my real world experience that I've had. I can give them examples and they seem to understand a lot better, and they soak that up. They really like hearing my stories.
I think
great.
anytime you can give an example, a real world example, I think that really clicks with the students.
Yeah, and my freshmen love it because they don't have a lot of world experience. You know, they've lived at home, most of them, and so when they come in and I start telling them about a perpetual inventory or how you know, even debits and credits, and you know, accounting's real life, and or you know, to make adjustments at the end of the year. You look in the supply cabinet and you count the supplies there. These are real things that you do, and you know, and they'll just smile and they understand there what I'm, you know, when I'm trying to teach them debits and credits. And I love teaching debits and credits. It's probably my favorite.
It sounds like you really enjoy your subject matter. What drew you to accounting initially?
Well, you know what? I like dollars and cents. I just understood finance. I just understand. I can remember when I was younger and I went to get my loan on my car, and I just understood the interest rate. I was just drawn there, I guess. That's the best way that I can say it. I just understood it. It seemed natural.
And you're a person who likes working with numbers.
I love to work with numbers, yeah.
I think there are people who have all different kinds of areas of expertise, and I think it's wonderful that we've got somebody that has that love of working with numbers and working with the accountants and that sort of thing.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Heather. I really appreciate that.
Now, our students like to get involved in activities outside the classroom, and I know you've expressed how much you enjoy working with students. Do you hope to get to work with them on any other projects or through their work as a student organization?
Oh, absolutely. After I get acclimated to the school and exactly what I'm doing, right now I'm currently on the wellness group, but I want to reach out and I want to do different activities with the students, and I want to become more involved on campus. And I also think that I'll develop a better rapport with my students, and therefore that is going to carry over in the classroom. So yes, I plan on doing that.
I think that's one of the things that makes Rio Grande so special, is that we can have that more of a personal relationship with our students. Our classrooms are small. We get to know our students. We go and support them in basketball or in the choral groups or in art exhibitions or soccer or whatever. And I think that says a lot to the student when his or her faculty members in the audience or as they're supporting.
Right.
You know, I had an experience the other day, and I was in the cafeteria and I had just sat down and I was starting to eat my lunch. And I got a phone call from two of my freshman students, and so they said, "Professor Schaeffer, I don't really understand this." And so I started saying, "Well, you know," and they said, "Why did I just come over there? Where are you at?" I said, "Well, I'm eating lunch. Come on over." And so they come over and sit down, and so, you know, we sit there and ate our lunch and we tutored. And so it was a great experience. And this is the reason why, because it was such a relaxed atmosphere, you know. And I encourage all my students, I said, if you need help, call me. If, you know, text me, I'll answer right away. If you're not getting any response, text me, give me a phone call. So, and like I said, my students are just like sponges. They're just absorbing this information. They're ready.
That's awesome that you're available to students like that, because not every faculty member at every school is available to their students.
Right.
Well, you know, when I went through school, my instructors were usually very available, or I could give them a call, and I can remember that, how much that helped me. And they would give me a number that I needed, and that's all I really needed. So I've learned from experience, and I want to be there to support my students.
I like, too, that you were willing to be in a different space. Sometimes students get intimidated by faculty offices. You know, there's something about that space that can sometimes present a barrier. And, you know, having your students come talk with you in a space that's maybe more comfortable to them, I bet that made a huge difference to them, and I bet that also might help them learn a little more.
Oh yeah, and that's what I thought. They were completely relaxed, and they were in the lunchroom, you know, they sitting there eating, and we were just being tutored. And you know what, here's something about Southern Ohio and where Rio Grande's at. I think that everybody here on this campus has a lot of hospitality. And for example, my son said one day that one of his roommates or friends was from Columbus, the west side of Columbus, and I said, you know, they probably like coming down here because of our hospitality and the beautiful campus here. This campus offers everything that a large campus would offer, but yet we're small. We know each other. I say hi to my students when I see them, and they know me. And I think that is really an advantage when you're learning.
I agree. It's a really unique experience.
Is there any word of advice that you might give a new faculty member? You're not really a new faculty member, just new to Rio Grande. What do you think is one of the most important things for a new faculty member to be aware of?
You know, and everybody says this, but I think that as instructors and professors, we need to offer customer service. And you don't, when you think of a professor, you really don't think of it like that, but that's really what we're doing. There's a lot of customer service when you're a professor. And the other thing, you must be very, very organized, and you have to really be ready. You have to anticipate what the students are going to ask. So organization is first, customer service is second.
Good advice.
It is good advice, and I can second what you said about never knowing what a student's going to ask. They sometimes are 1 or 2 steps ahead of you in the classroom.
They've got lots of questions. They've already read their material. They've already studied it. And they are ready, and they are asking you questions. Like I said, these students are ready to learn.
And that's wonderful to see the students come having read and having been prepared for their classwork.
And that means I have to be prepared too.
Prepared and ahead of the game, right?
That's right.
Do you have any in-class activities that they do that helps them to learn?
Well, sometimes I'll have them come to the board and I'll say, you know, make a journal entry, and sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to go there. And it's like, oh, come on up, I'll help you. And they come on up, and then, you know, they're fine with it. Unless they see everything is fine. And so after that, they're not so reluctant to come up the next time. So I like for them to come up and do that. Also, I found out that if we work in groups, that I had a class, and I just couldn't get them to, you know, respond very well. And so I decided that every day I would have them do a problem or 2. So the first thing that I said when we went in class, I say, get in your groups together, 2 or 3, and then I said, you know, because we're going to be doing a couple problems. And so I would go ahead with my lecture, and of course when I stopped and did examples, I would say, let's do the problem on page 176, for example, and work with your partner. And when they're doing like that, and they get to work in groups, and there's more than one, you are really going to get a good response.
Both good techniques to use in the classroom.
We appreciate you being with us today and
Yes.
joining us for Voice of Rio Grande, and I'm happy to hear that your first year is going so well, and you're enjoying your students and enjoying our campus.
I love it here. This is a very nice campus, and I appreciate you guys having me over to talk.
Well, thank you for coming on the show.
I thank you too.
This is Voice of Rio. We'll be right back.
Great time. Do you want me to turn this off? Should I not say that?
It's okay. Could you introduce her?
Okay.
Welcome back to Voice of Rio. I am Dean Heather Duda, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, and with me is Dean Donna Mitchell, Dean of Professional and Technical Studies. So I really enjoyed talking with Patty about the accounting program and the work she's doing in accounting. I think that her ideas in the classroom are great. I really appreciate the way she's encouraging her students to move and to get involved and to do small group, but also board work. It sounds like her classes are really going well this semester.
Yeah, and that makes me so happy. Actually, when I had to do my first classroom observation for accounting, I thought, oh my gosh, I need caffeine. I'm not going to ever be able to stay awake. This is going to be boring. It was not boring at all. In fact, it was like, I'm understanding these things and these concepts. So when we have great faculty members, they can make the information come alive to somebody who's a non-major, and I am definitely a non-major with accounting.
Well, our next faculty member is Dr. Ann Darlington. Hello, Dr. Darlington,
Hello.
And she is in the communication program here at Rio. May we call you Ann?
Yes, thanks.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to Rio? You are in your second year here, so don't have quite those first year transitions. Now you're getting comfortable here at Rio, so if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk a little bit about your program.
Sure. I'm Ann Darlington. I'm a native of Jamaica, as you can hear from my accent. I did my undergraduate work at the University of the West Indies in Jamaica and worked throughout the Caribbean for about 3 years before coming to the US to do my master's in communication and development studies. After I finished my master's, I continued on to a PhD in mass communication, and after working at Ohio University for a couple years, I applied to join the faculty here at Rio, and I was accepted. Yay.
Well, we're glad you did accept that offer to come work for us, because I know you're revamping the communication major.
Yes, we did last year a major revision of the program, and I told my friends that it was like writing another dissertation. The package was pretty thick that we had to submit with all the forms, but it was worth it. I'm glad we were able to get it through and get the proposed changes accepted, because I feel like it kind of rejuvenates the program a little bit and has more of a broad focus to give students more range of choices, so that they're not stuck on this path or that path. They can choose several paths that will help them in their career or what they're interested in doing. So we're more focused on providing the communication skills that you'll need for whichever job you have, and then working with students to help them find possibly internships or experiences that will make them more marketable when they're finished.
What are those paths that they could follow?
It's pretty open, actually, because the courses are pretty similar, but what we do is work with students to make sure that they're tailoring. In advising, we work with students to make sure that they're tailoring their path to what they would like to do. So in my initial advising sessions, I typically ask students, what are they interested in doing when they're finished? Many of them don't know yet, but we work together to figure out what they're really interested in doing. And then once we figure that out, I work with them on projects that they can do to get the experience, because I don't know, well, maybe you haven't been in the job market recently, but if you finish your bachelor's degree, most places want 1 to 2 years of experience. So they'll ask me that, where do I get 1 to 2 years of experience? Some people even ask for 2 to 3 years of experience for an entry-level job. So many of my students are very worried about that. So I tell them that they get that experience by working on projects now during school, doing internships, and working over the summer. It stacks up. It gets to be about 2 to 3 years of experience if you do that every year throughout college. So we've been working with students to get them to work more on projects so that they can apply what they're learning and also have something to put on their CV, on their resume, to say, this is what I've done. So that's more the more of the tailoring in that direction.
I like that tailoring. I bet that's very helpful to students.
Yes.
What are some of the career paths that students who come out with a communication degree, what are some of the career paths they take?
I have been telling students that communication is one of the best majors to take, because there is no business or organization that can run well without a good communication department. You have to have someone or several people who are in charge of communication in any field. So I will meet students who are not sure what they're doing, but they're interested in health, and they figure, oh, I have to become a nurse. And I will ask them, have you considered becoming a health communicator? You can be a communications director or communications manager or communications associate in pretty much any business. So that's the beauty about communication. Another interesting area that a lot of students might be interested in is social media. That's a big part of what most companies are doing now. If you have a big organization or company and you're not on social media, then you are really not doing your job. And learning how to use social media marketing and communication effectively would really give them a leg up when they go out in the world of work. So my students who took social media strategies with me last spring really enjoyed it because they actually worked on a social media plan for a business, and they love the practical aspect of it.
That does sound like an exciting class. That sounds like something I might be interested in taking if I were a student here on campus.
Yes, they really enjoyed it. And initially we were going to do it as you work directly with the organization, but they weren't able to make that connection. But they chose an organization and we still created the plan, and they were able, if they were interested in sharing it, they could share it with the organization that they selected.
Oh,
In fact, one of the students actually did a social media plan for the company that she knew she was going to work for.
Oh, wow.
Because she was offered a job in spring, even before the course started. And so I worked with her to create a social media plan for the company that she was going to join. So she was like, wow, this is giving me like a big step in the right direction.
Yeah.
If I can go to them with this plan to say, okay, here's what I've started working on, then that's already a good step in the right direction. So she really enjoyed that course.
That was probably well received by the company too, that a new employee who's actually still enrolled in school would be working on a project for the company already.
Yes, definitely. I spoke with her recently because we're going to a conference together to talk about how she's applying what she's learned through the communication program. And she says that she's gotten a good reception, and of course there'll be changes. That's one of the main things about putting together a social media plan. You're always going to be changing it. You have to listen to what your publics are saying and then change based on that. So it was a good starting point, but she's working with the company to make sure that it fits their needs.
What would be the earning potential for somebody who might have a degree in communications?
It ranges. There are some jobs that start as high as over $100,000. For example, if you are an executive producer, you can get salaries in that range. If you're a social media manager or a social media director, you can also get salary of $100,000 or close to $100,000. I mean, probably not starting out, but you could definitely build up to that. And of course, more typical ranges are probably around the $40,000 to $60,000 range for a social media strategist, for example, or if you are a public relations manager. Most people entering would be more on the lower range because you're just starting out. But there's definite potential to earn a good income from communication.
And it sounds like you could work in the public sector, or you could work in the private sector, that you could work for government, that you could work for
that
anyone.
Is the
you could
beauty
go off
of
into,
communication.
and probably around the world.
Yes, yes. I tell my students that, especially in my organizational communication class, we talk a lot about globalization and the fact that most companies will have offices in other countries. So there's the option to travel and to work elsewhere. And that's actually how I started traveling. When I finished my undergrad degree, I actually worked on a project during a course. And the client asked me to go work for them in another country. And I went, worked on one project for about 6 months, then came back to Jamaica, and they asked me to go to another country to work on another project. So I did that for about 3 years. So it's definitely doable. It's something that can be done. And that's one of the beautiful things about it, that you can work in the public sector, the private sector, you can work with NGOs, you can work with governments. There are so many options.
I think that it's good that you're providing this information, because I'm not sure that our incoming freshman student would really understand the opportunities, or even that they can get a degree in communications, and what would that provide, what experiences would they get, and what jobs would be provided.
Yes, I think that is probably a part of what is lacking in our efforts, and I'm working on that. I have a poster on my door that outlines several jobs that you can get with a communication degree. And I am trying to speak with the gateway classes, especially for the students who are undecided, to give them an idea of the potential that exists in a communication degree.
What better way to tell about your program than for you, the communication specialist, to communicate through all different types of media?
Yes, we are definitely trying to do
your
that.
opportunities. That's wonderful.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us about yourself and about the communication program. I'm very excited to see the communication program grow over the next few years and definitely see where our graduates go in life.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to what they'll do.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Voice of Rio.